Tomorrow's the 15th anniversary of Reggie Miller's final NBA game. Home loss to the Pistons that eliminated the Pacers. Game 6, second round. Reg had 27 points, 11 of 16 from the floor, and a 9-point defeat. I text Reggie last night before the episode, and I just said, good luck. And then he said, tough crowd. I said, it's a crowd of one. It's MJ. You survived, Reg. You survived. Were you nervous?
I was. I was nervous for the simple fact of that opening scene because they opened it with the fight, right? In 93. So that could have gone a number of different ways. But I think it kind of drew people in and captivated people a little bit. But you're right. It was an audience of one. This was MJ's doc. But I think it kind of pulled back the veil of how things were in the 90s and how competitive not only he was, but a lot of the guys that he butt heads with, me being one of those guys. So it was cool to see, a little cathartic, as you mentioned, but it left me shaking my head as well. I wanted to come on here and first say, I hate Steve Kerr. I hate Steve Kerr. I hate him. I love him. When I worked with him, it just painful memories. That game 7 it just makes me shake my head.
Why do you hate Kerr so much?
Because we expected MJ, we expected Scotty, we didn't expect little Stevie. Those 11 points were the difference makers, and it was impactful 11 points in game 7. Big shots against us.
How does Rick Smits lose that tip? He's 7'4", Reg.
I can't answer that.
Okay, all right.
Can't answer that. It doesn't guarantee that we would win that ball game, but I would have liked our chances.
Jordan was very complimentary, though. The Pacer team. I mean, he knew that was a battle. Yeah. That was as good a battle as he was probably ever in those in the 90s.
And people need to understand too, when they won 72 games, 72-10, 2 of those 10 losses came against us, and we really weren't a contending team at that time. The year before, we played a physical style of basketball led by Larry Brown, which was then kind of taken over by Larry Bird and Rick Carlisle. But we had tough dudes, and my Davis brothers, Rick, we had Sam Perkins, we had LaSalle Thompson, we had Sam Mitchell. So we had a lot of guys that understood the game, had been around a long time. And, I said this in the doc last night, we really didn't fear them. We respected them. Obviously, you respect all your opponents, but it was kind of comical at times watching how other teams approach the Bulls and how we approach them. But it was fun. It was fun.
Do you have any different memory? Like, do you take away anything different from Michael and the Bulls, having been in it and you're so close to it, but now you're watching it as a quote unquote fan? Anything different?
Think about this. As much as Michael has achieved, how iconic he is, right? 6 NBA championships, twice, 3-time back-to-back champions. You could see, and only a real athlete and a competitor could see this. Remember last week when I told you I always remember the bad games versus all the great moments that I've had? You remember. You could see when he's talking about a chase for number 7, and when they're talking about how maddening it is, him walking away at the height of his powers, you can see how much that pains him. This is a guy that has achieved everything. He has 6 rings. But what is clawing at him is the what if. What if on that 7th? And then breaking up the team. And it kind of pains me to see that a little bit, because we were all shuffling to get in line to come after them. I had my shot in 98. Who would it have been the next year, you know? So it pains me to see that look on his face, him not having that opportunity. Hey, until they beat us, why break it up?
I was also, and people want to know, what would they have done those 2 years if Michael didn't play baseball? And I don't know if they would have won the title. Now, to be fair to Houston, I don't know if they would have won the title because I do think that there was some burnout there with Michael. And I think you saw burnout there at the end of 98, Reg, where we can't imagine what that must be like to live in that world. And he created this world.
Sure.
Like he was held captive by being Air Jordan. And I think it took its toll.
And people don't understand 82-game regular season. And back in the 90s, there was no load management.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
We played. We had to play. And Michael was one of those guys who understood there is going to be someone in this building who hasn't seen me for the first time, who paid a lot of money to come see me play. So he was going to lace them up. So think about this. He played 80 to 82 games, 8-9 years straight, then a grueling, taxing playoff schedule where he won 6 championships. You're right. Fatigue was starting to set in. And I think teams were getting better as well. We'll never know with the whole Houston and their 2 championships. I would have loved to seen it because just as much as we didn't have an answer for MJ as guards, no one had an answer for Hakeem Olajuwon in the middle as well. Yeah. So that would have been a fabulous matchup.
We're talking to Reggie Miller, Hall of Famer, Turner Sports NBA analyst. You see yourself in this fight with Michael Jordan. Like, are your kids watching this?
We put the kids to bed.
Oh, okay.
I made sure we put the kids to bed because I don't know what MJ was going to say. I told you, I didn't know. I knew the fight was probably going to be a part of it. I didn't know it was going to lead the show, but it kind of set up the night, and it set up what was the anticipation of that epic 7-game series with Chicago. But people need to understand that I just didn't go and shove Michael Jordan. I'm not that stupid. I hope they saw the preceding plays because he was elbowing me a couple times. And again, like I said, I can't hold my tongue and I'm not going to back down. So it led to but it just shows you the power of MJ. How do I get thrown out? We both were fighting. So how do I get thrown out in my own building? That's what burns me. And then he goes on to score 40 and they win. Like, that doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
Do you believe the pizza story that now it's food poisoning? Why did it change from flu to food poisoning and it changed for the documentary?
Well, how are you going to say food poisoning? Food poisoning doesn't sound right. Flu game, because it kind of looked like he had the flu. But the more you think about it in the food poisoning, it sounds about right. So what, maybe Pizzagate sounds good? How about Pizzagate? Hashtag flu game. Flu game sounded good, right?
You can't have 5 guys deliver a pizza.
Now, I don't believe. I don't think 5 guys. First of all, Michael Jordan is not ordering. Those other 2 guys, as you know, Glover, the trainer, and whoever his other friend, Charlie, or whatever that guy was, they're ordering the pizza under their names. So how are they going to know it's for MJ?
Don't you get your pizza from the lobby?
Under his name.
You get it from the lobby. They don't
yeah. You would go down to the lobby and get the pizza. You wouldn't allow, first of all, it's Michael Jordan. And as you saw, he had pianos in his rooms on the road. So obviously he was on a secure floor. And obviously he traveled with about 30 security guards, as we see in this docuseries. So why would he let them up on the floor? There's a lot of holes in here, MJ. A lot of holes in here.
It was interesting when you start to look at when Michael looked like he was going to break down in this documentary, and then he couldn't allow himself to break down. Like, I can't. It's a weakness. I can't allow. When he says, "Let's take a break," there, he was talking about how I don't think he could be any different than what he was. I think this is who he is, and he was trapped in this. He could never turn this off, Reg, ever. ever.
And why apologize for it, right? And he said this himself, winning comes at a price. Did he push his players? Yes. Will Purdue, was he an asshole? Yes. Okay. Right? That's just how he was. And to me, there's no reason to apologize because he put a lot of money in Reinsdorf's pocket, in his teammates' pockets, in absolutely the league. David Stern said it right. We were in 70 to 80 countries and it expanded to close to 300. And a lot of that has to do with Chicago and the marquee name, Michael Jordan.
Do you think, and if I think this was a brilliant marketing plan by Michael Jordan and his team to put this out now because of LeBron and LeBron going to the Lakers and maybe winning another title, and now all of a sudden he's got 4. Now all of a sudden got a little bit more of a conversation here. I got a chance to sell some shoes. I can remind the people who saw me, and I can introduce myself to a new generation here. I think this was a brilliant marketing plan, but is it all positive? Like, people take away positives from this, Reg. Do you think, or is there something that's negative about this that Michael Jordan might regret?
I think and I wouldn't necessarily call it negative, but it did kind of raise eyebrows. The whole not backing of the U.S. senator in North Carolina back in the day, maybe not doing that. To me, that's what kind of separates MJ from LeBron, because LeBron has the platform and the tools and the social backing to do that. MJ was never about that. To me, and you're right, it checks all the boxes for MJ. He opened up a new audience. Air Jordans continue to be an iconic brand. So those are great things. To me, I will go to my grave saying this. I will think that MJ is the GOAT. But I think it put it to bed. But let me just say this in LeBron's defense, though. I think LeBron, because of social media, and he's not afraid to speak his mind, I think people view him in a different light than MJ because he has those platforms. MJ would never do that. I mean, LeBron has started schools to help kids out. I don't think MJ would ever have done that. MJ was all about the craft and winning. And I'm not saying LeBron isn't, but in today's age of social media, you've got to have a package. And LeBron has, to me, a bigger portfolio and package than MJ. But MJ didn't have this in the 80s and 90s. There was no social media. There was no Twitter, Instagram.
Who would you rather play with, Jordan or LeBron?
And my type of skills in my game?
Yeah.
LeBron. But if you're asking me who the better player is and who the best...
No, better chance to win.
It would be MJ.
Okay.
To win. Because it was win at all cost. My skill set is playing with LeBron. Like, I could play with Magic probably better than I probably could play with MJ. MJ and I would butt heads. We're just too much alike.
Yeah, I was mentioning this, that you had Larry and Magic, or it was Magic and Larry, and then all of a sudden Mike came along. And it's not like he stayed too long with Magic and Larry on their level. He took it to another, like they didn't give him the baton. He took the baton.
Took it.
But was there any resentment, do you think, with the older guard in the NBA, with Jordan, that who are you coming in and you got your own shoe? I mean, this stuff really was, I know that Clyde Frazier had his own shoe. Like, some guys had their own shoe, but this guy came out of nowhere from the standpoint of team isn't any good, and here he comes, and now all of a sudden, there he goes.
And I think this kind of goes to what the whole beef maybe was with Isaiah. There was grumblings, again, about that first All-Star game with Isaiah kind of freezing him out in that All-Star game. Again, I wasn't there. I wasn't on that All-Star team, but, there's whispers about that. and too much too soon. But I kind of think he kind of proved that he deserved all this in terms of MJ. But in terms of Magic and Larry, because they rescued the NBA in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
And Michael just took it to a different level, and he helped put money in our pockets, the rest of the players, because revenue sharing, TV rights, that all expanded because of MJ and the success of Chicago.
Coolest piece of memorabilia you got in the crib?
And again, this is a rental. This is not our normal home.
Okay, all right. So
this is a rental, so we don't have a lot of stuff here. We're just laying our heads down here.
What would be the coolest thing? Memorabilia.
You know what? I will show you the coolest thing. Just wait 1 second right there. This is the coolest thing, Dan Patrick.
Reggie Miller joining us on the Dan Patrick Show. Is he going to bring in a child? That's why Reggie going into another room here. Yeah, because he, of course, was affected by the fires, and they had to get a different house to go to. I was in Los Angeles at that time when I saw Reg. When I was out there, I think I was doing the interview show, Undeniable. Oh, okay. That's what exactly? That's almost a life size. That's
life size right here. This is the coolest memorabilia right here.
How big is that bobblehead? That's like Muggsy Bogues.
I don't know who sent this to me, how I got it. It was one of my last years in Indiana.
How about you stand behind the bobblehead, and we can't see you, but you move the head a little bit, and you just talk. Hey, Reggie.
I don't know who sent this, but it's so cool that from here on out, my Zooms are all going to be this.
Reggie, do you really think Michael Jordan's overrated, Reggie?
Yes, I do. And I tell you what, if he kept talking all that noise, AJ, you were going to have problems, buddy. I didn't care about you, Black Jesus.
Whoa.
Yeah, you might walk on water. But when this light-skinned assassin gets a hold of you, I'm coming for you.
The light-skinned assassin. Hey, pop your head up real quick. I want to ask you about I haven't heard anything from the commissioner. And I'm assuming that's a good thing. What do you think? What are we looking at here with the NBA season?
I think the longer it goes, it's not going to happen. I know they're opening practice facilities. I just don't see it, Dan. I really don't. I hope I'm wrong.
So no season.
I hope me and my light-skinned bobblehead can go back to work, but I just do not see it.
When you brought it out, I thought it was Austin Crozier.
It's when I had here. But how about this? Look at the parts. That's when
that was your rookie year where you had that.
Yes, come on. I had the Bobby Brown. Girl, you know it's true. My prerogative.
Well, I'm glad you got your due last night. I didn't want MJ to say some things like he did some of these other players, but
again, I did my interview in January or February, so I don't think he did his interviews way earlier.
December.
I was late to do my interview, so if I would have done my interviews a year ago, remember this was 2.5 years in the making. This docuseries.
Yeah.
So a lot of those interviews with Gary Payton and all those other guys, they were probably done early, and that's why he had a chance to have a rebuttal. He didn't have a chance to have a rebuttal.
Karl Malone didn't want to be interviewed. Byron Russell refused.
I can see that.
Stockton begrudgingly did.
It wasn't going to end well for those two.
No, it wasn't. Thank you, Reg, and little Reg there. We appreciate it as always. Thank you, bud.
I appreciate it, Theodore. You are truly the best. My dadettes, this is why we are family.
It's Reggie Miller and little Reggie. Light-skinned Reg.